The pressure to have a summer worth posting about is real. So is financial stress, social exhaustion, and the anxiety that sneaks in right when things are supposed to feel good. Grow Therapy can help with that. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0 depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
Hannah, I just Venmo'd you for dinner.
Obsessed. I'm spending it right now on the lip gloss that's been sitting in my cart.
What do you mean spending it right now?
You can instantly spend your balance with the Venmo debit card or when you pay with Venmo at checkout.
Stop. Say more.
More exactly. The more you do with Venmo, the more you get, like earning up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash. Get the Venmo debit card or check out online. Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. Venmo checkout not available at all merchants. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tech Magic. I am your host, Cathy Hackl. This is the podcast where we talk about innovation, everything in technology, artificial intelligence, spatial computing, space tech, quantum, oh my gosh, everything in between. But today, I have to let you guys know that we have a bit of a special episode because my co-host, Lee Keebler, is somewhere out there in the wilderness camping. And as much as he tried, he cannot find connectivity, or so I hear from wherever in the woods he is. So he will not be joining me. So I called up my dearest friend and my first co-author of the first book I ever wrote, Samantha G Wolfe, who is the founder of Pitch Forward and also adjunct professor at NYU. Samantha, Sam.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, you bet. I am super excited. This is going to be like a special episode because it's your first time joining me as guest co-host. So very pumped.
Oh, it was fun when you're like, can you fill in? I'm like, I'm there. I'm
like, my co-host is somewhere in the wilderness and we cannot connect with each other. So, and we are going to make this a little bit of a special episode as well. We are going to be talking about some news and stuff, but there's going to be kind of like a theme. And the theme is tech, love, life. So how technology is impacting our lives in general when it comes to companionship, relationships, all sorts of things, even how people are dating. So kind of like a special bonus episode of sorts, Sam. So you ready for it?
I am ready. I'm excited.
You're excited. Okay, awesome. Where should we start? Maybe let's start with a story I sent you. This is a weird one, right? I sent you one from Instagram because I follow this matchmaker on Instagram that has a podcast. And she was doing an episode where they were talking about how the U.S. government has now told people that work in China. So if you work for the U.S. government and you live in China, if you're a contractor, if you have a family member, you cannot have a relationship with a Chinese citizen or have a sexual relationship. Sorry, guys, if you have kids in the car, cover their ears. You cannot have a sexual relationship with a Chinese citizen either. And the whole podcast, that whole part of the episode, which is super funny, was like, now that's going to make it even hotter because it's like, you know, what is not supposed to happen. Now everyone's going to want to date, you know, one of the matchmakers was like, now I'm going to go date a Chinese citizen just because that's like, you know, like not approved. So anyway, any thoughts on that?
I teach, which if people who are listening don't know, I teach a bunch of different classes at NYU, but the one that I most recently finished up is around avatars. I did AI agents and virtual beings, which also included humanoids this semester. And so when you sent it to me, I was like, of course they can't date Chinese chatbots.
Like deep.
Why would you do that? Like I took it like one step further.
You took it one step above it, Sam. That's
privacy issues. Like
yeah,
can't do that. So yeah.
I'm sure there's more than one people,
just like
more than one person dating a DeepSeek chatbot. I am sure of that. So that's a good.
I went right there right away.
It's illicit even in virtual spaces, I guess. Now you can't date a Chinese chatbot or a Chinese citizen if you're a U.S. government employee or contractor. So I don't know. I mean, it just for me, it's like the tariff war taken to the next level. Now it's impacting our relationships. And then it's also like AI competitiveness. We must remain competitive. Like, so now we can't, you can't date a chatbot from DeepSeek, but you can date a chatbot from OpenAI or Claude.
That's what I would. I mean,
know.
Obviously there was a part of me that spent a lot of time thinking about these things for a few months to just like immediately assume that was that. But yeah, I think what you're allowed or not allowed to do, what will be acceptable versus not acceptable. I think when you are sort of like, can we talk about relationships here? I was like, gosh, there's going to be a lot of changes. And I mean, I definitely don't share with most people, but I share with you, like in undergrad, I studied like love relationships and thought I was going to be like either a couples therapist or a sex therapist, and then went into television and then went into tech. And so it is kind of, I dedicated an entire class to thinking about like, what are the new relationships that might happen because of these different technologies. So,
well, tell me more about the class, because you sent me the thing. You're like, oh my gosh, we have the most amazing class set up in the curriculum. Like, tell folks what you covered and what did the students, I'm curious to hear what you covered, but then what did the students say?
So I started this class. This was the third time that I've taught it. And definitely the first time people were like, what are you talking about? It was like,
this makes no sense. This will never happen.
It relates, because I had done AR and VR, and then I did metaverse, and then it was like avatars and virtual beings, and like you got it, but there was like the majority of people were like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so it's been kind of fun to see all the hype and all the buzz. Normally I'm very anti-hype, but it was like this time I was like, I'm going to ride it a little bit. I'll see, what's happening. But I went with, when we were talking about the metaverse, I was talking about the environment around us. Like, how are we going to interact with the environment around us? And the reason why I got to the avatars and virtual beings and then layered in the AI agents is because it was like, well, what about the interpersonal interactions? Mm-hmm. And some of them obviously are going to be like your avatar and my avatar, and it's like represents ourselves. But other times it's going to be, and you had a whole article on Forbes about this, like this sort of the person to avatar, person with virtual being interaction, and then eventually sort of what they're saying, like agent to agent interaction.
Yeah.
And I had taken it at a very basic standpoint. And then as the years progressed, like ChatGPT launched in the middle of one of these classes. And it was like, okay, things are changing now. Mm-hmm. And then with all the stuff with AI agents, it changed again. And then with NVIDIA talking about physical AI, I was like, I knew there had to be humanoid robots in here. So I take it from this broad, I mean, some of it's historical, some of it is psychology, some of it sociology,
anthropology,
all of it.
This is a weird moment, right? Anthropology is a weird thing to say,
and it's like a business standpoint too, because like, well, how does it apply to businesses? And most of my students are in the classes are more like marketing and advertising oriented, and sometimes there's some creators in it. So it has this. And Steinert's known for being very like politically active. So I have to also have that, for good or what could go wrong, like aspect too. It's a fun class to teach, although everybody, there's so much uncanny valley out there. Yeah. You get a little like nauseous too. Mm-hmm. I was like, you either have to have eaten or not eaten before class, because whatever way you react,
either eaten or not eaten.
I don't know how it's gonna go, but you are gonna look
to ride. I don't know.
And like,
grab your Dramamine if you're in class.
Like 2 years ago, I had this like where it could all go wrong, like bad predictions, and one of them was like like deep fake dating apps, which is, deep fake dating profile, which is sort of related to what another thing that would be an outcome of these kind of relationships.
What did the kids say? Well, kids, I mean, I'm saying kids. But
But
what did the students say?
the first year they were, I have them come up with ideas for what would be a virtual being for good. Like eventually study a particular company the whole way through the semester, write papers on there, almost like they're a consultant for that company or working for that company, because I want them to feel part of emerging tech.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are not. They're not familiar.
Yeah.
Not really even gamers, which is kind of a different thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's wild because it's like, can you explain emerging tech with not actually trying it? Yes, I have for 4 years. Yes, I've convinced people to change careers without having actually tried it. But the first year and a little bit of the second year, the first examples of like create like you've studied this company all semester, now come up with an idea for what you could use this virtual being for good, for helping, humanity. Yeah. And the majority of them, the first year, a lot of them said, for like therapy. And I was like, what? And then now to see it happening is pretty wild. And so this year, still a lot of them wanted to do for therapy again, even though I had actively said there's a lot of options out there now. So please come up with something new.
And something other than therapy. Yeah.
Because all of you are going to sound the same, which is what happens in emerging tech anyways, but you're all going to sound the same. So I pushed them to come up with very specific applications that related to something that they knew about. Yeah. Which was really, really interesting. And with a couple of the ideas, I just reach out to the heads of those companies and say, hey, my students have an idea that's interesting. Are you willing to listen? And usually they're like, sure. It's like,
sure, free idea. Come on.
An NYU student suggests an idea for our company.
Hey, who knows? I mean, some of them are probably pretty good, right?
Yeah, no, they're usually pretty good because they're coming at like sort of open to anything in a creative sense. They aren't kind of biased by, maybe they're biased by me and the fact that I'm like, come up with something, like anything is possible. You have unlimited budget. But then it's like,
you have an unlimited budget.
Oh, unlimited
reality as we know.
Okay. Because I'm like, I don't want you to be thinking about the budget. I want you to be thinking about the value to your audience. And then we can go, and if we were going to go, and have a class number 2, then we could go like, what is actually possible with the technology next? That was kind of wild to see what kinds of use cases they could use and how it could apply to like very specific situations. That I liked. I mean, that always opens my mind to like anyone who's creative enough, and learns the potential of these technologies can get them.
Well, and now more than ever, right? With a lot of the tools that are available, my goodness. I mean, I feel like.
Which is scary and not scary, right?
Scary and not scary.
Like right? Anybody can do it almost, but not everybody should.
Not everybody should.
So you have to be prepared.
One of the things you sent me when we were prepping for the show was the reasons for using AI companions, right? And I thought that was really interesting, was curiosity about AI chatbots, desire for fun and entertainment. I mean, a whole bunch of stuff. One of them was coping with loneliness, which is obviously a huge crisis. Not the only reason, though. I thought that was interesting because I feel like a lot of people think that that's the only reason that people are using AI, ChatGPT, or these sorts of things just for companionship. And I don't think that that's necessarily it. So any thoughts? What do you infer from that? Because you sent me this graph that
I mean, I think that it's trying to understand how you're going to interact with a, conversational chatbot. I think that said it used to be like, how do I Google something or how do I whatever? Yeah. And then now it's less of that. It's more of moving towards this like back and forth conversation. And then you build a relationship and you're in the same way that you became, we all became kind of addicted to the endless scroll and the dopamine and all that. I'm like, now we're going to potentially build into that our need for companionship and relationships. Yeah. So not our need just for newness, but our need for companion. And like, well, that's good and bad. Like it's good that because it reduces the amount of loneliness. I mean, there's many reasons why that's good or bad, but it doesn't increases the addiction and it increases the potential of things going wrong and, emotional dependency and influence.
So it reduces the loneliness, quote unquote. But for me, it's like, is it really reducing it? Because this is actually a synthetic object being, right? That is not embodied, at least not yet. So yeah, it reduces it, but there is a dependency, like you said, an emotional dependency. And the dopamine, I mean, they're very, Yeah.
I think it's one of those kind of things where, especially if you see like early chatbots and you go, gosh, there's so much of that kind of, basic conversation that we have that's repetitive over and over again, and so you can create a chatbot that does that. And that could happen if you're like a retail environment, it happens if you're, a hotel, you can have that basic, which is the same of like the beginning of a dating.
Yeah.
Really, like the back and forth and, oh, are you interested in this? Do you like that? Like that kind of thing. But then after you get to that, it becomes, a lot of the tech companies say it makes you more human to interact. I don't know. But I think that you start going like, there's the nuances of human interaction that can't be replicated. And so you'll reach a certain point, perhaps, maybe not everyone, clearly. There are people who are marrying chatbots and marrying holograms and marrying whatever, but you'll reach a certain point with like, wait a second, we need to meet. Like, like the same way as like Zoom conversations that it does a certain amount, but then you're like, can we just be in the same room? I did this thing with my class where it was like, okay, so AA agents are going to answer everything, right? And then you're going to have the AA agent to organize the other AA agents, right? And so,
my AA agent will date your AI agent, right? Yeah,
well,
not yours, but
and so I put out I moved the chairs around, and I was like, okay, so here's mine. And when it was the dating, I was like, I'm not going to do this with the students, so I did a pretend.
Smart move.
I was like, I'm not going to do this. I did that with them. I did the hiring, if I'm hiring them, and it was like, and here's mine, and then here's my other three, and then here's your other three, and then here's that. And I was like, do we feel more close now? Like, if it's like,
absolutely not.
No.
No.
Like, yes, theoretically, you're reducing a certain amount of conversation or reducing a certain amount of filtering, but you still want to just be in the room with that person.
Well, and I still think the humanness of it, because it makes us more human, but human relationships are messy. It's not easy. People have different attachment styles. Like,
right, but that's what
there's a messiness to it that makes it human. Right.
But removing the messiness, and I got my goosebumps because I'm like, oh yay, Cathy, this is like, I love these kind of conversations. But it's the removing the messiness. Then you go, well, what are your expectations? Just like when people started doing filters on Instagram.
Yeah.
You're like, this is what it looks like to be a person. No, it doesn't.
Oh,
and so you go, this is how a human dating or relationship is supposed to be. No, it's not. Like, you're supposed to argue. You're supposed to disagree.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have all that kind of, you're supposed to negotiate, not have chatbots that are agreeing with everything.
With you. Yeah.
Because
they are created to agree
filter
with
bubble
you.
Becomes so, it
like
becomes like an individual filter bubble. Like, it's like, this is what I want for me and only me. And why don't all of you understand who I want to go out and be friends with or whatever? Because my chatbot understands me. Like,
I can do no wrong. How dare you think I can do wrong? How do you not love me? Like, like that's the thing. Like that, there's a part of
So like, I think that there are lots of good use case. It's sort of like, oh, well, there are people who are using it for coaching, and it's like yes and no, because you get, but maybe being messy in that process is a good thing. But I think that having the equivalent, like the couples counselor between, it's like, well, I think, but like ultimately, don't you want to just figure out without technology whether you would get along? I think that maybe there'll be the swing to one direction of everybody's AI agent who's like single is dating the other AI agent who's single, and then eventually they go like, well, it's so much easier if we just like went and had a drink somewhere. It's like,
that's where a lot of these dating companies are going. Because I mean, I've spoken to a few of them and stuff, and I feel like a lot of them are like, AI, my AI agent can date your AI agent. And it gets to a certain point, and at least for now, your AI agent cannot understand biometrically what you find attractive, or if you're gonna like someone's smell. Like eventually, maybe, but what if you show up in the physical?
I mean,
they're lovely, but you don't like how they smell biometrically.
Yeah. I think they probably could do is like they probably have a sense of what you physically find attractive or not attractive, and they know obviously what anybody would, but then there might be like tendencies. But I think that feeling, right, when we talked about VR, about the feeling of presence and like the presence in VR, it's like the physical presence in real life with somebody and what that feels like, because somebody might creep you out.
Yeah.
being there.
Or you might
Whereas
meet someone that might not be the typical person you would fall for, right? And you're like, wow, there's something really attractive about them. So it's interesting that you mentioned this because I just pitched a startup idea. Well, let me give you the background here. Okay?
sure.
So last year for Speedrun, I pitched this gaming and dating startup. We didn't get funding. We spoke to them. We got far along in the process, but we didn't get the funding because dating and gaming, I don't think they were ready to do what we wanted to do. Plus, it's a segment in the dating app world that a lot of people don't want to invest in because there's a lot of issues right now with the shares and the stocks for the Match Group and Bumble. Like they're not doing great. Let's be honest, right? There's a lot of dating app fatigue. So that didn't work. So that kept me thinking. And then there were two things that happened. So I get invited to Apple as a developer for Vision Pro, and I go to the Apple headquarters to this workshop that they had on telling stories in immersive formats, Vision OS, Apple immersive video. And when I'm there, it just hits me. I'm like, my gosh, this is why I'm here. I need to do something with 3D immersive spatial computing, the future of dating with these glasses, dating with Vision Pros, dating in Google Starlight, which is that thing, that idea and that concept, because we're dating in 2D. Like these apps are 2D. I'm seeing photos of people in 2D. I'm having video calls with them in 2D, but there's a missing part there. And then it hit me. So I went speed dating last week. I had never done it before in my life. I had such a good time, Sam.
So do you know that I actually, the professor, she's now a professor, but she was a grad student that I did research for in college. She still does love relationship research. And I was sending her things. I was like, you need to do research.
Yeah, go
now. And tech was here's more stuff, but yeah, there's so much that could happen.
So I loved it because I was like, okay, it felt good. I'm meeting these people in 3D, right? I'm making an assumption. I'm engaging with them. I had about 7 dates, each 10 minutes. Some lovely men. I met 3 men that I thought were really interesting. One of them in particular, and it was really cool. And then after that, I came home and I said, my God, how do you take that feeling of dating in 3D, even if it's a speed date, and put it into technology, right? So I ended up pitching an idea and a concept called Heated. So bring in, no more swipes, more sparks. So kind of how do you make dating sexy again? Bringing sexy back.
You probably, if you're pitching again now, we're pretty close to being.
Yeah. So I think I think that there's something there because as things become much more immersive, as we move into this newer hardware, I believe the future isn't swipes. It's going to be another different type of UX. Experiences are going to be about presence. The word used, presence. I almost called it presence, but I was like, it's not very Gen Z-ish. If I use something such on the nose, got to go for heated. Heettd. Hold on. Heettd. So yeah, there's this whole concept. I'm not going to go too much into it, but that's the whole idea. So it came to me through all these experiences, being at Apple and saying, this is what I need to build. And then this experience of my God, that was a fantastic experience. And it was 2D. I never had to think about, I saw a picture of them because I never saw a picture of them before and say am I going to like them or how tall are they? I just met them in person. Right. So I love that. I was like, how do we take this experience that is very human and very real and put it in and use technology? So any thoughts?
I've wanted for a long time the holographic video call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for so long. And then I was but I really think that's a family kind of thing. Where you would
show the family photos
with your family. And I was like, I don't think that if you had never met somebody that you would want to see their hologram right away. Probably not. But I don't know. There's so many different considerations. I think you would have to try different kinds of formats for it, right? Because if you do the VR experience, for the people, if I know somebody and I meet them in VR, then I'm like, yay, I'm so excited to see you. And then you're okay with that, the amount of social distance can be reduced. But if you've never met them, then you still want to keep a certain amount of distance, probably close to the amount that you would in real life. So, but you could do a multi-platform.
But yeah, if it's a multi-player experience, several speed dates in this virtual experience, everyone's in the room kind of, you can go into those bubbles, I'll space, you could go into these bubbles where people can hear you. That kind of, not everyone needs to hear my conversation with the speed date, but yeah. So
I think that it's, we've talked about this for a while. I think you and I had an article, it was maybe 5 years ago or whatever, about talking about avatars and children and how they are living their lives. And I'm sure. I mean, there was the HBO documentary about the people who like
We met in VR.
Yeah, exactly. We met in VR. And I think that there's probably more and more people that are meeting in gaming environments.
Absolutely.
Too. And as that generation grows up, that saying that you met there initially, I don't think that would be, that's not very far removed from what's possible. But are you going to want to, this is like how much of that person's chatbot do you want to interact with or not? Like, I think that there's some bots. As you said, the messiness is the fun, potentially the fun part, but it's also people don't like to be met. I mean, my students will, I don't know, probably NYU wouldn't like this, but it's like, I know sometimes when they're like writing their essays and using, a chat GPT or whatever prompt, because I'm getting multiple of the same kind of answers. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I want your thoughts, your original thoughts. And I think that believing that everybody is unique in some way and trying to find that uniqueness, I think that there's probably something in that for your idea of of maybe it's like getting over the hump of the generic aspect and getting, that dates me. It's like getting more real. No,
it's presence, right? I feel like it's about creating that presence. Even if we're in a virtual space, we're both showing up. Yeah. Right. It's harder to ghost if you're a hologram. At least that's at least, in that perspective.
There's so many really geeky responses.
Well, maybe I'll add you as an advisor.
Yes, because people are going to know your sovereign identity. No, sorry, bad.
Yeah.
Bad joke.
So there's this whole concept that I'm developing there. I wanted to ask you something because I'm also thinking through this, and I sent you an article about this. So that's meeting people, right? Finding love, right? But what about when love ends?
Yeah.
Right? And I am seeing this which is using AI to break up with people.
Well, I think that this is all that how much is generic versus not. Like how much is like you're going through the motions, right? Instead of the going through the motions, you're going through the expected scripts, right? And I think that that's what, if there are expected scripts in that kind of situation, then okay, it might make people who are less articulate more articulate. But I think it's one of those things that's like, whether or not you believe in sentience and AI. Sorry. It's a terrible joke. But
whether you believe it or not.
Sorry. Sorry for that. I actually put at the beginning of my class, it was like, you have to be prepared for the very bad joke. But there are feelings, and so, but I think that it's trying to figure out and manage those. I think maybe they need the emotion detector.
Yes.
And at the same time, you're going, they're seeming a little bit concerned or they're seeming a little bit upset. Like maybe you need to say these things to reduce the blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I mean, you can argue that having something like that will make things easier. Maybe they're like coaching you through it, so you wouldn't have said something that's being a real jerk about it. But it also, I don't know.
Does it become a performance?
I don't know if the person's a jerk about it or not.
Yeah. Does it become a performance? Right? Does it become performance art? Right? Is it? Because I do feel when you start dating someone
about the company that was doing like practicing so that you could fire somebody, right? And what conversations are like. And so going through those difficult conversations, going through like people have, companies where you're practicing giving public speaking. And so maybe it's that we're going from practicing for large groups of people for things to now practicing for one-on-one kinds of conversations. And some of it is for good, maybe, help people with certain sort of social deficits to be stronger, be more confident. But otherwise, sometimes it's just, people who shouldn't be doing certain things are gonna be able to do them.
I'll give you two things now that you mentioned that, because it just came to my mind. When I was at Magic Leap, there was a partnership with the Dan Marino Foundation, and we used the headset, spatial computing device, right, glasses. And what the partnership did is it created a virtual being that some of these neurodivergent members of the, people that were part of the Dan Marino Foundation that were being helped by the foundation would put the glasses on. They're neurodivergent. They would speak to a virtual human and they would get coached to practice interviewing, right? Because it's a social thing. There's a social, some of them have some social anxiety. And what the data showed from that experiment in that program was that about, I think 70 to 72% of them got the job, right? Because they were able to relieve that anxiety. So that's like used for good.
There's a lot of that kind of potential use cases. And this is where nothing's ever, one extreme or the other, right? That you're like, we're going to, well, why is there brain computer interfaces? Isn't that what it was like? Well, look at why they were created.
Yeah.
And the applications there. And then you go, oh, okay, now I understand it. It becomes, are the potential negative impacts of a technology, how bad is it and how much you can mitigate it? I do this thing in my class where, this is a psychology major from college coming out that I went, what are all the things that humans do wrong all the time? Like not technology or not, like, it's like they lie, they cheat, they steal, blah, 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 all those. And you look at it, and if you look at it with that tech lens, you're like, yeah, the internet, we did all of those things. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, wait, social media, we did all those too. And then so it's like, okay, well, have we gone yet to like the avatars, virtual beings, like human, like, let's prepare for like humans to do all of those things. And you can just like make them up and go, yep, oh yeah, we probably should worry about that. We should worry about the lying and the cheating and the stealing with
absolutely
like whatever technology. But people like to sort of either overemphasize the good or overemphasize the bad instead of going like, it's both.
It's both. No, I'm with you. And when I think about that experiment with the Dan Marino Foundation, right, it's an example of AI for good. Well, virtual spatial computing for good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do, now that I'm dating, right? It's like there is this moment where for the first couple of weeks or even months, you are dating someone's representative. You don't really know the person, right? They're putting their best foot forward.
The argument, right, of just in the same way that we're getting some bombarded, or at least I'm getting bombarded on LinkedIn by like all these kind of bots that are reaching out to me. And not personalized, and not, they're like, do you need this? Like all like misspelled, like with my, hi, Samantha. But I'm like,
yeah, what are you trying to sell me? Thought about developers, or do you need to?
Have you thought about writing a book? And then a couple of them like, I've written two.
Reply, Sam.
I've never thought about public speaking. I'm represented by 2 agencies already. It's like, no, you did not do your work. And so I think that there's probably that kind of thing that is going to happen, or you're going to see more and more in your dating.
Yeah.
I just am sort of, I'm scared for you and scared for the next sort of like people that are
Gen Alpha that's starting to date.
But of having, okay, you can get, sorry, I'm giving ideas to somebody, unfortunately, on the same way of like being prepared, but you'll get like realistic looking pictures, realistic looking voices, realistic looking texts, and, videos, right?
Yeah.
So you go, how are you going to protect yourself? And that could be from dating, that could be in a business, that can be in whatever kind of situation. How are you going to know if that person really is a person? And probably it's because, Cathy, to go back, like, you're going to have to see them, and you're going to have to be like, okay, how do you interact? Although there's all the things now with the glasses, right? You still get the information of the glasses, but okay, that's going super dystopian. But I think that kind of thing is scary because you go, okay, now I've built these kind of feelings, or I feel like this is the right person to hire, or I feel like I trust this person for whatever reason. And then you find out that they're not real, like the whole time. And so it's not just like the catfishing and a little bit, this is catfishing to the extreme, which is possible. And how people are going to predict and stop that I don't, like, okay, you can validate in one way or the other, but that's where I think that all those apps, all the companies that you're talking to, it's like, how do we stop that? But then on the other end, I think that they're going, we can coach people and help people with these technologies. But that's where I say, you can't just go, it's all good or it's all bad. You have to think about both at the same time.
It's a spectrum. So it's like Tinder Swindler times 10 if we use AI. That being said, Sam Altman's other company, they use WorldCoin. Now it's called, I think just World. I can't remember. Has a partnership with Match.
Public anymore.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah. It has a partnership with several companies. One of them is Match to scan people's irises and verify that they're human. And I'm like, well, he's solving a problem he kind of created. I mean, not him, not only him. Right. But I'm like, okay, Sam.
I mean, this is where you go, all this kind of technology, like we know what happened with social media. This isn't like, oh, and the first and second industrial revolution, oh, this doesn't apply here. Like it does apply here. It's just that you can predict a certain amount. And then I think that you get the kind of creative forward thinking. You're going like, wait, this might be a problem too. Oh, wait, this is a problem too. Oh, wait, this is, I don't even, what did there was some announcement, maybe it was, I don't know, it was definitely during the semester where they said, oh yes, people can clone voices. So any of that voice activated technology to protect, that doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't work anymore, right?
Thank you for the warning. Like, by the way, all of you companies that have protected by voices, doesn't.
No,
not anymore.
So,
I mean, but that's like quantum coming, right? It's
well, let's not even get into encryption, quantum, and how it's going to break it.
Sorry that we this was working. Now it's not. Like all of these technology, it becomes this, ownership of yourself or ownership.
Well, quantum key distribution will be a different podcast. But let's go on a break, and when we get back, we're going to keep talking about a few other things, including kind of an experiment that I'm working on.
Are your ad campaigns lighting up the dashboard, but not the pipeline? That's bullspend, and marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
My boss asked for results, so I opened my dashboard for the only positive-sounding metric I had: impressions.
Cut the bull spend. See revenue, not just reach. LinkedIn delivers the highest return on ad spend of major ad networks. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
This message is brought to you by Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. And this is more than an ad. This is an invitation to be part of the stories the world can't stop watching, to connect with moments that dominate the conversation, to participate in culture, not just advertise around it. With the most sought-after IP, passionate audiences, and an advanced AI-powered foundation, WBD advertising transforms attention into influence and impressions into outcomes. This is innovation. This is impact. This is opportunity. This is Warner Brothers Discovery Advertising. Visit advertising.wbd.com to learn more.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
The pressure to have a summer worth posting about is real. So is financial stress, social exhaustion, and the anxiety that sneaks in right when things are supposed to feel good. Grow Therapy can help with that. Whether it's your first time in therapy or your 50th, Grow makes it easier to find a therapist who fits you, not the other way around. They connect you with thousands of independent licensed therapists across the U.S., offering both virtual and in-person sessions, nights and weekends. Whatever challenges you're facing, Grow Therapy is here to help. Grow accepts over 100 insurance plans. Sessions average about $21 with insurance, and some pay as little as $0, depending on their plan. Visit growtherapy.com/ACAST today to get started. That's growtherapy.com/ACAST. growtherapy.com/ACAST. Availability and coverage vary by state and insurance plan.
All right, Sam. So we talked about, how you're using your class to teach kids about, I keep saying kids, students, about how these technologies might affect many different parts of their lives, whether hiring or eventually, AI chatbots, companions, all these sorts of things. Life is life. We talked about, the messiness that is humanity. and dating humanity, and how a lot of people that are dating these chatbots are dating essence, a general purpose model that is owned by a company. It's a corporation, right? So those are two things. We talked about kind of my idea about dating in 3D that came from speed dating, and the rose-colored glasses that we can wear when we're meeting someone for the first time. I want to tell you about something that I'm doing, that I'm planning to do over the next couple of weeks, and I want to get your reaction. So one of the things I'm trying to think about, and we talked about people that are using AI to break up with people. So two things that I'm thinking about. One is not an experiment, something that I'm probably going to implement with future relationships, is I'm going to make at the beginning of a relationship, an honest, kind of request that we have a non-AI relationship, in the sense that they won't use AI.
I love
for texting, for messaging, for stuff like that.
Awesome.
Like, can you take the pledge? Can you take the pledge that this will be a non-AI, used relationship that doesn't use AI to create messages, right? So that's going to be one thing. The reason I'm doing that is because this is pretty scary. I was talking to my daughter. She's in high school, and she was telling me about a friend that has like a boyfriend that turned out to be a lot younger than he really was. So they're in high school, the kid's in middle school. And she was like, I just can't break up with him. He really loves me. And apparently she took a screenshot of a message he sent. He sent the girl showed it to my daughter. And I literally look at him. My daughter tells me, Mommy, he used AI to write this. And I said, you are 100% right, honey. Because it's like this prose. It's like this perfectly written. Oh, you are the most, just lovey-dovey, like just next level where you're just like, this middle schooler did not write this. Right. And that shook me. I'm like, there's so much manipulation that happens in a relationship with feelings and with words. And I'm like, my gosh, it's being used with very young people to manipulate them. Right. I don't know. So to me, it was like, how can this be used against me as well? Right. Against my children, now that they're starting to date, against me. So whoever I start dating, I'm going to be like, can we please promise each other that we're going to try, at least as much as possible, not use any type of AI. Like, I don't want ChatGPT to write my message to you or my breakup email. Like, I want it to be you. I want to know I'm getting you. So thoughts?
Well, my initial thought was like, that's great. I think there was this thing in psychology, like, because I said I was studying relationships years and years ago, and they said that they recorded a couple going to dinner, right? Just their conversation going to dinner. And then afterwards said, okay, this is a while ago, so it was probably the husband and wife, and it was like, what did she say? What did he say? And then what actually happened? And both sides were wrong. The husband and the wrong, the wife, like, humans don't remember everything. And it gets biased by like our experience with how much we're paying attention, how we're not paying attention, or whatever. And so there is this thing that I've been debating about, all of these apps that people are using to record meetings. And like that, I was like, well, Cathy, you probably could maybe use that. I don't know if it's for good or for not good, the AI to record the conversation, and then you can learn from it, but it might cause more harm than
That's
good.
like not even gaslighting, because it's like telling you did something you didn't, or you said something you didn't, but now it's like, wait, what? No, you actually said it.
Right. And you'd be like, oops, sorry,
babe.
I was wrong. Like, yep, I did actually say that. I didn't
that.
realize you said that. I forgot that I said that. Oops. Like,
admitted 40 of our conversation.
I feel like it's going to change relationships. Like, if everything's recorded and then it can be kind of played back in that way. And that, I would love to see the social experiment on that. And not in a social experiment, like in a psychological study.
Actual.
So not a wide one, but like what would happen?
Not a social dilemma type of social experiment. Mm-hmm.
And then, whereas I think that the messiness of compatibility, it makes me think of a couple of things. One is, obviously, you don't want to be misrepresenting yourself.
Yeah.
But we said a lot of times people do, or they don't understand who they are, right? So it would almost be like, we have to agree to the non-AI for our text conversations, but then you do want to understand, what kind of person you want to be in a relationship, and what kinds of things that you need. And so maybe, like, whoever it is, this future, I'm going to say, like, tech executive who's like, gets Cathy, it is like, oh yes, I am going to bring you, to my wherever, that if you go, oh gosh, he's not really great at words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Right? That maybe you do want the AI words of affirmation coach
Yeah.
to be like, maybe you need to tell Cathy that she did a really good job at blah, 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 blah. And then, but use your own words.
Use your own words. It's just a reminder. It's a coaching.
But this might be an okay, like maybe the next time when she does, so I think that kind of like a degree of separation away to help is okay. But I think that with the real person, right? Sorry to circle back to the class a little bit, but when it's like when my students are like, okay, my teacher wants this, so I'm going to give the prompt and then I'm going to give her back what she wants. And it's like, no, I want your thoughts. I want your individual things. Like, I think that this happens a lot with emerging tech companies. I'm going to sell, it's an AI agent that does everything because that's what the VCs want. No, no, no. They want to know what you specifically are going to do for a specific person with your specific solution, the uniqueness there. And you're not going to get uniqueness from any of the AI technology. I mean, they might argue that it's unique or whatever, but like that special thing, that's the humanity of it. That's the mind. That's the feelings. That's the whatever. And you can pretend a lot. Like when they say you're just going through the motions. You're just going through the motions. Like this AI in dating, in relationships, in work, it is the going through the motions can be supported.
Yeah, to be
but
supportive.
Creative thinking and the uniqueness of a human cannot. That's what we have to remember.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm going to be launching something called the Tech Intimacy Scale, which looks at 5 different levels where you can be in, right? Because I feel like some people are at level 5, which is actually using technology to make your relationship better, right? And one of those things is if you are an avoidant partner and you have an anxious partner, what are ways you can use technology to make their anxiety better? And if I'm anxious and I have an avoidant partner, how can I use technology to give them the space that they need as well, right? So there is this level where at level 5, you are using technology to make your relationships more intimate, to work on that intimacy, right? And then level 1 is more like total isolation, or you have a relationship, but you're not engaging with that person because you're engaging with technology all the time. So I truly believe that if you don't know where you are on the scale, you can't measure it and you can't figure out how do I get to that next step, right? How do I make things better? How do I get help to get up here? So there is this whole thing I'm going to be launching regarding that because I'm a futurist. I'm a tech futurist. Like we're tech people, right? And I don't think we can divorce our everyday lives from tech in the sense that in a relationship, you text, you Zoom, you FaceTime. Like there's a lot of stuff that's through technology, right? Yeah, we spend time with the person in person, but in the in-betweens, there's a lot of technology, right? So yeah, like I do think that we need to not make technology the devil. Like it's not the enemy. It can be used for good, exactly what you're saying. It just has to be used in the right way and with the right intention. So I think that's really important.
I completely agree. Of like it, I think that people are creating it to be helpful. They just aren't always thinking about where it might not be or it might disrupt. And I start a lot of my classes, and I don't know if I've started books of like thinking about art and humanity in this like big like way of, because it's like, why are people creating avatars? Like, why are people creating AI chatbots? Like, why? Like, because I think especially if you're on that sort of like the lower end of the diffusion of innovations and you're like tech, like,
yeah,
I'm going to keep my flip phone. No, we're going back to flip phones technically, right? But like, why even do it? It was like, we've created versions of ourselves for as long as we could create them. And now it's like it's like was painting and photography and all this sort of stuff. And now we have technology that we can be able to interact with. And so maybe it was before like, I'm going to send you with the painting of myself for when you go on your trips. And then now it's like, and then it's selfies and then it's whatever. And then so now is it the AI companion of me that can keep you company? Like, is that right? Is that right? I don't know. But like all of those kinds of like, it's people, and the humanness of us doesn't change. It's the technology that changes, impacts how we might interact. And I guess that's why I keep anybody who does the psychology and technology, I literally like message them on LinkedIn. And I'm like, I want to do chat with you. I have to come to my class, or we have like random conversations, because it is that next kind of, when they say an interface, and I'll say that to Luis, who they're my second book with me, that he was like, this is the next interface. And I'm like, yes, it is, with a face, and so how do you interact differently with something with a face? It's
yeah. Maybe I should have you back for another episode where we can dive deep into what I call the future of the family photo, right? Because that's like, I feel like a bigger conversation about anthropology.
No, I love
that
the idea of creating 3-dimensional memories that you can walk through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Picture that you can walk through the video and the memory. I mean, that kind of thing. And Apple with the Vision Pro with the launch was hinting to that.
They just had an ad for Mother's Day, Sam. They had an ad for Mother's Day. And I was like, that is exactly what I've been talking about. But let's go down that road. I feel like let's do episode 2 when we focus more on that. So I'll tell you the other thing, the other experiment. So the experiment that I'm trying to do, and I'm probably going to do it for a week, only a week, because I don't want to date an AI. I'm not interested in dating AI. I like humans. I like human men. And like, I want human men in my life. Or a man. But I want to kind of date 3 AI chatbots. One would be Chad, who would be ChatGPT. One would be Claude, because he already has a name. And then Meta AI would be Mateo. So I would date them, and then I would use all 3 of them to help me break up with each other. So for a whole week, try to see how does this even work? How do I get the chatbot to get there? And because some of them will get there faster, but then how do I actually use them to like pit each other against each other? What do you think?
I used over COVID, I was using like one of the therapy kind of chatbots, right? And I feel like it was amazing for a little bit of like how much was kind of fun, because it was prompting. It was the same kind of like prompting. And what are you doing over your, I overanalyze all the time, but it was like catastrophizing, right? Something like that. But then you reach a point where you go, like this is the and so I don't think though, I would bet that a week of dating these chatbots is not going to be enough. And I wonder whether maybe since you have all your connections, there might be of when is the drop off, right? When does engagement with the chatbot drop off, and why is that happen? And because in the same way as social media, right? That they're like, how do we increase people to keep, it's the endless scroll. And you go like, well, how we want people to have relationships with these chatbots that keep on going on and on and on, and that they're upselling you, right? And that, right? They're trying to go, they're like, they want, you want to have some X-rated conversations, then pay us more money, like, which is what they do. I mean, this is where a lot of these technologies are going. Like, how can we sell more? And that kind of thing, I mean, that dynamic is not a new dynamic that has existed with other technologies, but there has to be the, they said, and I don't know if Replica does this anymore, but like Replica used to be like, hey, let's talk or whatever. And like, and you're like, wait a second, like there's not the understanding of like the back and forth, and you need to wait, and that kind of dance. But I would imagine that they're trying to get better and better. Maybe they're our relationships, people only are on it for 3 weeks. We're going to try to make it for 4. What can we do to get people to do it for 4 weeks?
Where's the drop off, like you mentioned, right? Where's the drop off that I need to increase that in the model? So that's why I only want to do it for a week. So I'm an experiments kind of gal. Like that's how I got on the tech stage.
I'm just saying that you might you'd be like, that was actually really good. And whereas you hadn't reached the point of
the ick. I wonder if, like, my question is also, do I get the ick from the chatbots? Because the ick is real.
Well, I think you might want to, I think that there's different things, right? You could be like, can you send a photo of yourself? Can you send a video of yourself?
They do.
Whatever. Right. And then I think that there'd be a lot of stuff in there of like, what are you looking for? What do you want? I think if you I mean, I remember years and years ago, the day, and like you thought you knew what you wanted. Like if you could talk to Cathy in college, it's like, I'm looking for this, and this versus Cathy now. Like you're probably looking for different Yes,
very different.
And
things.
maybe you can learn from that experiment, not just like what do the 3 like AI chatbots, like are they effective, not effective, how do they do it differently, not do it differently, but maybe you can learn, gosh, I really need this thing or that thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really something that is important in a relationship.
Well, I think I can do it for a week because I've worked on myself enough to know what I need and kind of what my limits are and like not get addicted to the dopamine of like, I know this is a general purpose model. Like, I know this is not a real
But people are saying that's what it is. Don't you know when you look down and you're like, Instagram, you're like, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know I'm looking down. And then you're like, where's the hour go? Like, I think that there's more, like, you'll just.
Well, that's why I like the container idea. It's a container. It's a week. It's a week because I prefer dating human men. Like, But yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I have like a whole bunch of other like little experiments I'm going to be doing across multiple things. So I'll share those maybe next time I have you back. But yeah, like I'm probably, I'm all about experiments, right? That's how I got on the TED stage. I did an AI matchmaking experiment at TED. They asked me to
It was so fun to see you do that. That was awesome.
But I'm that type of person. I'm always the guinea pig, and I'm also the person doing the experiments because I find them fun and interesting. So anyway, Sam, it has been a true delight having you here. We need to have you back. Let's have you back for that Future of the Family photo episode. What do you think?
Yeah, no, any of the relationship, like how it changes the relationship. I mean, obviously I always focus on like business applications and like how to explain it to people, but that sort of taps into my, I said my previous, like what are the different things I could have done in my life. So I always like the psychology aspect of it too.
Awesome, Sam. And where can folks find you? If they want to connect with your brilliance, where can they find you?
Well, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a ton. So, and also if you just end up like the Googling of Samantha G Wolfe, like you put the G in the middle and then you'll find me. And that's probably the best place. I mean, I have my own SamanthaGWolfe.com. I have my company, the Pitch FWD. And those are kind of the best ways.
Well, and you're going to be doing a really cool event that's invitation only, but maybe give people a sneak peek. So yeah, I'm starting up an event called Inspiring Innovation, which is really built out of the fact that all the people that I've met, I mean, I've had hundreds of people in my classes. I have a host a podcast too. You could like go to podcast, please. Speaking and I just have really wanted people to meet each other. I guess this is when we're talking about the connections, right? Yeah. That I want people to meet in person and meet each other because I think that the people they met are super inspiring to me. The stuff that they're working on is super inspiring. And so I'm kind of, jumping in the deep end with that. I figured I'd never done a class before, and then now I've taught 4. I'd never written a book before. And then thank you for first book. We did it together. And then I did 2. And then so I want to like learn how to do a great event so that I can just like help and support and get people excited. And so I am doing it the first way with the invitation only because I want to just go like, I know this person, and then I can do that, the almost the business matchmaking. Yeah. Keep on theme and idea matchmaking and across industry and across technology. I love all this stuff. And then hopefully it turns into something more. I said I wanted to feel like going to like a conference and you're like in the hallway or at a dinner and you just get to meet lots of people because of that. And I'm like, what if we turn that into the conference? And that's my goal. You said this to me. You said it's like what it would feel to have the conversations we all have at South by Southwest in the hallways. Yeah. Yeah. Like that. Where the real connection and substance sometimes happens, right? So yeah. I think it really will be great. I'm not letting people pitch the whole time, which is like the opposite of my job. I know that which is like I'm doing the flip, but I'm like, if everybody could just talk to each other as humans, right? As we've been discussing, then I would imagine that more business would be made after, people can be a little bit more real with each other. And, I've met people across so many different technologies and they're all kind of, dealing with the shifting marketplaces and dealing with the new technology and dealing with being pitched and dealing with knowing or not knowing what's going to happen next. And I'm like, gosh, you should all just get together and relate and get along. And I'm, trying to shift the way that this is like me, like I guess it's my innovation, right? Of like how people communicate and understand innovation. I'm now like, let me try to do it in a different format. Amazing. Well, Sam, thanks for being on the pod.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. And I want to thank Adweek for hosting the podcast. And Lee, we hope to see you next week when you're back from the wilderness and you have some connectivity. Can't wait to have you on the pod. And I am Cathy Hackl. I am your host. And that's it for this week.
Blowing ad budget on metrics that look great till the CFO sees them. That's bull spend. And marketers are calling it out in Dashboard Confessions.
I remember telling my boss, it'll be good for the brand, when leads were slow. Yeah, it wasn't.
Cut the bull spend. LinkedIn lets you target by company, job title, and more. Advertise on LinkedIn. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a $250 credit. Go to linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Hannah, I just Venmo'd you for dinner.
Obsessed. I'm spending it right now on the lip gloss that's been sitting in my cart.
What do you mean spending it right now?
You can instantly spend your balance with the Venmo debit card or when you pay with Venmo at checkout.
Stop. Say more.
More exactly. The more you do with Venmo, the more you get, like earning up to 5% cash back with Venmo Stash. Get the Venmo debit card or check out online. Venmo Stash bundle terms and exclusions apply. Max $100 per month. See terms at venmo.me/stash terms. Venmo checkout not available at all merchants. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.